Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you found me. I'm just glad you're here with me today. Our lesson this week is week 31, God's Recipe for Wives. And I love how she started, and so I'm going to read what she said here. The best marriage advice I ever received came 20 years ago from a friend. It was just a few weeks after my wedding, and Andrea and I had gotten together for a game of tennis on the college campus where I had recently graduated. After our game, I must have been telling her that marriage was harder than I'd thought. That was when she said something I have never forgotten. Have you ever thought about the difference between goals and desires? She asked me. Your desire may be to have a happy marriage, but you can't control that. That takes two people. The only thing you can control, she said, is you. So even though you desire to have a happy marriage, you have to make it your goal to be a good wife. And I found that so prophetic. I remember a time I was really struggling in my relationship with my husband, and I had heard of this author, The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy O'Martian, and I can't remember if I purchased it myself or if it had been gifted to me, but I read the first page and I had to put it down. I was very convicted because this is what she says. First of all, let me make it perfectly clear that the power of a praying wife is not a means of gaining control over your husband, so don't get your hopes up. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's laying down all claim to power in and of yourself and relying on God's power to transform you, your husband, your circumstances, and your marriage. This power is not given to wield like a weapon in order to beat back an unruly beast. It's a gentle tool of restoration appropriated through the prayers of a wife who longs to do right more than be right, and to give life more than get even. It's a way to invite God's power into your husband's life for his greatest blessing, which is ultimately yours too. It was very convicting because I was struggling and I felt like maybe my husband wasn't doing all that he could in our marriage, and it frustrated me. And so my goal was to pray so that he would change. And at the end of the day, I realized I was the one that was being very selfish, and so it was very convicting and very powerful. So I highly recommend, if you're struggling, the Stormy Martian has an entire series: Power of Praying Wife, Power of Praying Husband, Power of Praying Together, Power of Praying for your children, for your adult children, etc. And it's a fantastic. Power of Praying Woman, fantastic. So I have asked my husband if he would join me today, so you'll get a chance to meet him this during this video. And I'm going to ask him a few questions, and then if he has anything he wants to share, he will be doing that. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, this is my husband, Benno.
Hello.
And so I'm going to ask Benno a couple questions.
Okay.
Okay, so these are trick questions. You ready?
I don't do good with trick questions.
He does really good with these ones.
Okay.
How long have we been married?
almost 22 years.
Yeah, almost 22 years, that's right. And how long have we been together?
Just past 28 years.
You sure?
Yeah. She always asks me if I'm sure to try to get me to second guess myself. But I'm better at math than she is.
He is.
So she knows better.
I sometimes have to ask him what year we got married.
It happens.
So, am I the same person in your eyes that I was when we first met or first started dating?
Is that a trick question?
No, that's not. That's
Okay.
not a trick question.
No, you're not the same person.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's good.
Okay. And what's good about it?
I think that we've both grown, maturing over the years, and we were both pretty immature, I think, when we met. Being married has forced us to find common ground, and I think that there's a lot of value in that.
I agree. As a wife, have you felt that I have grown in to be a better wife or helpmeet, or how would you describe me as your wife, I guess?
Yeah, I think that you have grown.
Mm-hmm.
You've grown to be more helpful. Like we were talking last night about how things were when in our sort of early married life, and I had an expectation of what our home would look like and how it would be upkept. Um, and I would come home from work and feel like I needed to help pick things up around the house so that I wouldn't be distracted and so that I could spend time with you. And at some point along the way, we had a good conversation. I think after maybe possibly years of frustration, that that really for me to be able to relax, the home needed to be in a certain condition. I will also say that I lowered my expectation. No, because I think it was an unreasonable expectation, but I did lower my expectation of what it needed to look like for me to be able to relax and spend quality time with you. So that was part of that meeting in the middle, finding common ground that didn't need to be everything and no dust bunnies in the corner of the house. It just needed to be generally picked up to where I didn't feel like I needed to do that when I got home.
Yeah. And many years ago, you had, it was important to you for us to do the test of the 5 love languages to see what our primary love languages were. Do you remember what yours were?
Acts of service, and I know that there's another one, but that's the main one for me.
Physical touch.
Physical touch. It's a good thing that you remembered that.
Yeah. Do you remember what mine are?
That was a test.
That was a test, yeah. Do you remember what mine are?
Words of affirmation, I know, is your main one. And I don't recall your second one. What? Is that a trick question? What's your second one?
Physical touch.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. I just didn't say it because I don't want to be wrong. Sometimes it's better to not guess and be wrong. Okay, so we talked about love languages, and so when we had that conversation, like I really wanted to spend time with Benno, and he'd come home and he would just start cleaning, and I'd been home with the kids all day and we'd been picking up or whatever, and so I just remember telling him, hey, I want to spend more time with you, and he said, well, I want the house clean. So once we figured out what the baseline was of what he needed so that he could come home and rest, it really made a huge difference in our relationship. But we had at least 2 kids by then when we'd had that conversation, so that was a little ways into our relationship. So I just want to encourage you to communicate. And there were some words that we were told never to say. Do you remember what those words were? No.
Always, like you always this, or you never. Always and never. Because they're very accusatory, and the reality is just because he does something one time or I do something one time doesn't mean that's what we always do. So that was really good advice that we got.
You always say that. Just kidding.
No, but I'm always right.
So you always have a comeback.
You always support me.
Okay, that's better.
So we've had a lot of stress going on in our lives between buying a house, selling a house. We are moving towards putting his mom in a place where there's assisted living so that she can have more care that she needs. Our daughter's pregnant again. They may be moving.
Yep.
Our son's going through some things.
He's living with us.
Yeah. How do you feel we communicate as a unit in the midst of all this?
Overall, I think pretty good. I think the bigger challenge is just finding the time to communicate with a lot of things pulling us in different directions. Right before bed isn't the best time of communication. Another thing that we've learned after years and years of marriage is, I'm notorious for trying to have somewhat deep conversations, what I feel is important right before bedtime, and Amber likes her mind to wind down and watch videos and whatever, like Unsolved Mysteries and pimple popping. That's how she winds down in the evening. And so me asking questions about finances or other things that are on my mind, I've had to learn to not do that. So, but yeah, finding time when we're being pulled in different directions and not always in the same location is a challenge in this season of life, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I know Benno takes care of our finances, and I know that that's not common, or it doesn't seem to be common in today's world. It seems like the woman takes care of a lot of the finances, but I'm thankful Benno took the lead on the finances because he's very mindful of where the money goes and paying things on time, and he's because of his consistency, he's been able to put us in a financial position where we have been able to do what we're doing in our life right now, which is really exciting. So it's important for me too that, if at night, like last night, he said, oh, there were some charges that didn't look quite right, and
wait, but I didn't say that. I sent you an email.
You sent me an email. That's right.
Because I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
But you happened to look at your email before you went to sleep.
Yeah. So I looked at my email. I was like, oh, what was that? So knowing that was important to him, it no longer. Or last night I wasn't irritated that I had read that email. It was like, oh, like if he sees something that doesn't look right, I should probably look into it. So I had a hard time going to sleep. I ended up getting up and looking into it because it was just, then my mind was spinning. I wanted to make sure that I was being a good steward of our finances as well, making sure that everything was good. But yeah, it's just interesting to find the balance in life. And I thought after the kids became adults that life would be a little bit more relaxed, and finding it's really not that way.
No, it's not. It's just a different phase of life. We've gone from caring for kids to caring for parents.
And they're very much aware. My grandmother was living with us, and she passed away. Actually, she passed away, I think, the second video I was recording for the channel. So yeah, it's been a very interesting year. I feel like we're better as a couple because of that. Were there some other things that you wanted to talk about or share, some pearls of wisdom?
Pearls of wisdom. Happy wife, happy life. It's a good one. You should put that one on a necklace and wear it every day, man.
Yeah, but when you're happy, it makes me happy.
That's good.
Yeah. So, what are you excited about for our future?
For our future? Excited to grow old in this home. Not to grow old, but since we all have to grow old, I'm excited to do it in this home. I feel like this is a place that we've really sort of dreamed about, and God put it in our laps and gave us an opportunity to live a little country life, but not too far out in the country. And it's a beautiful home, and just feeling really blessed. So looking forward to getting it organized and making it what we would like it to be.
For sure. Yeah, so Benno works full time. I work part time, or I try to from home doing my sewing, but the last couple weeks have been packing and moving, and this week is unpacking, so slowly getting things in order, starting with our bedroom. So that's so far the only room that has anything on the walls, which is, it's kind of nice. Was it nice to walk into?
Yes, it was nice to walk into, and there's a million things that need to be done around here, and so I had to figure out how am I going to approach that. So I just came up with an idea for Amber, and I said I know that you have a lot of things that you'd like me to do. She had already told me about some of them, and I just said, just give me 3. Just give me 3 per day, and I'll do my best to knock those out. And that should still give me some time to do some other things that are on my list, but that way we're both getting some things done, and there's certain things that you probably would prefer me to do, so let me know what those things are, and I will do those first, and then I'll move on to my list. So we'll just chip away and get things done.
I didn't ask him if there were 3 things. But if he does bring something to my attention, like we were charged for our internet at the old house.
Oh, yeah.
So I said I'll take care of that. So he had sent me all the login information for the utilities, and so I just thought, I'm just gonna hit that whole section of utilities and follow up so that he's aware of where we're at with those things, so that he doesn't have to worry about it. So.
And this was Amber's #1 item, was actually sitting here and doing this interview
Yeah.
for tonight. And she said, before you get stinky and dirty and your hair's all messed up,
Oh, yeah, I can look terrible for this video.
which I don't have a lot of, will you sit down and do this interview? So,
Yeah.
here I am, just got home a few minutes ago, and we're doing this video, and then I'm gonna go change and get to the other couple items that are on the list. That's right,
Well,
check the
thank you.
box.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and I hope that this has helped or is encouraging you in some way. And, in order to have a really great, when you're baking a cake or whatever, there's different ingredients to make that cake nice and wonderful. And Benno really makes a great chocolate cake. That's my favorite kind of cake, by the way.
Cool.
You already made
Communication is vital. That's the last thing I'll say.
chocolate. It is. All right. Blessings to you and take care.